You're going to be really shocked to hear this, guys, but studio owners earn exponentially less on average than ballroom dance teachers. And so first of all, in a nutshell, just looking at statistics online, ballroom dance studio owners earn an average of $7.69 an hour through $22.91 an hour. And there's a lot of variables that come into play here, and I'll dive into that in a second. Meanwhile, ballroom dance teachers average $77 an hour. Do the math. $7.69, $77. And so here's an additional breakdown. Obviously, how much the studio owner is making totally varies based on if it's a franchise studio versus an independent studio. And then independent studios come in two forms. One where they lease to independent contractors, meaning the instructors pay an hourly fee to be there, as well as independent studios that have all employees or a combination thereof. And obviously there are different square footage size studios too. So there is an element of economy of scale in terms of the ability to make more money when you have a larger facility with more teachers, etc. Okay. And so let's break down the average annual wages for those different types of studios. Number one, small studios. So we're talking about like 500 square feet, okay, friends? And an owner is going to earn anywhere between $30,000 and $60,000 a year. Okay, number two, medium-sized studios. So in the United States, at least where I'm broadcasting from, this would run from like 500 feet to 1,500 feet, okay? In that case, that solo owner could earn $60,000 up to $120,000. A very large studio, so 1,500 feet or larger, a solo owner might earn $120,000 to $150,000. Now, for the record, this is averages. I am painting with a broad brush. I have known many a ballroom dance studio owner who is not able to pay themselves anything, period, or they are not able to pay themselves anything from the studio income. They just use the studio revenue, floor fees and such, to cover essentially their own floor fees. So that what they're bringing in just covers the bare minimum costs, and then they're able to pay themselves from the money they make as a ballroom dance teacher. Although honestly, guys, most studio owners, I'm not talking about franchise studios here, but the different types of independent studios, the owner is usually bringing in the lion's share of the income. So not only are they bringing in the most dollars to the business out of all the teachers, they're working longer hours, they're also earning less than all those teachers are. And guys, I can vouch for this myself. As you know, I owned the largest ballroom dance studio in the country for 15 years. And it's a tough nut to crack. There is massive overhead, guys. Okay, and then finally, franchise studios. Okay, guys, this is a totally different animal. Okay. Franchise studio owners usually earn between $250,000 and $1 million a year. Why is this? Why is there such a difference? Well, for starters, the franchise studios are charging very, very, very high dollars for the lessons that you take there. Okay, so the student, each client is spending exponentially more money. Number two, the franchise studios, again, painting with a broad brush, tend to have much less experienced and they don't have a lot of teachers that you would need to pay a lot. So those teachers actually earn a lot less than a kind of more of a trained, highly trained, experienced ballroom dance teacher would make. So essentially the owner is benefiting. They are bringing in big dollars. They've got a lot of teachers doing the selling and the teaching. And then those people are paid a relative pittance compared to like those independent ballroom dance instructors. And certainly anyone who's competed successfully at championship level, you know, a highly trained dancer, obviously, like any other industry, they're going to be making a lot more money. I'm probably going to post a separate video on what exactly ballroom dance teachers make, at least in the United States. That might be of interest to you too. Let me know in the comments. But for today, I'm diving down this bunny hole. And guys, for the record, I have had many friends not only hardly make anything, they've literally been able to pay themselves nothing, even from all the dollars they're generating as a teacher. Okay. Guys, I got to tell you, I myself have been in that boat. I ran my studio 2 different ways for many years. I ran it with employees only, and at a different stage in my studio owner career, I ran it with independent instructors. And as the studio owner, I can tell you it is very much in your best interest, and in my opinion, the best interest of your studio culture, to only use employees and not independent contractors, instructors that come in and then pay per hour. I can get into that in another video, but financially, if you are taking lessons in an independent studio where the instructors are leasing space, just please extend your grace to that studio owner. I guarantee they're not there to make $1 million. They are singularly there as a passion project. They love ballroom dancing. They want to spread ballroom dancing to the future generations. They want to expand to the current local ballroom dance community. They want to improve the quality of the existing ballroom dance community. And you know, guys, when I was an amateur, now it sounds stupid now, but I'm much more worldly. That was many decades ago. I always felt like, oh, that darn studio owner, they're taking advantage of my teacher, and I want my teacher to get all that money, and woo, was I wrong? And I did later find out those studio owners were also not being paid. They singularly made money from the instruction that they provided, and then they never were able to pull a cent out of that studio. They were just barely scraping by. You know, it is, I don't know how it is in your countries, and we have friends from all over the world here, but in the United States, you know, there is, you know, it's not cheap to run a business. You know, real estate here is very high, especially if you're in a big city, where usually that's a good place to have a ballroom dance studio. It's just easier, you know, more of a client base to draw from. You know, if you're the employer, there are costs as well. I don't know if this is just a thing in my state or across the country, but we as the employer we are legally required to provide health insurance for our employees. If you're in another state, tell me. I don't know if that's just an Oregon thing or a nationwide thing, but you know, that's very expensive. Mind you, when I had employees, there were literally 10 tiers of care of insurance coverage you could purchase that were any of them were legal, and I always chose the highest tier, so the most expensive one, but it had the best coverage. So anyway, that's what I did, but it's not cheap. You have to pay corporate taxes, you have to pay payroll taxes, you have to pay all sorts of just pay. And ballroom dance does not pay well. Now, studio owners that lease space to events are on the very upper echelons of those wages. And they are the studio owners that are driving up the national averages for what the earnings are, okay? If your studio does, say, rent out to weddings or office parties or something, they're likely doing much better financially and are absolutely on the higher end of that spectrum. You know, I can tell you from personal experience, I did not go that rental route. I did very few rentals because there was another ballroom dance studio in town that did that, and they made great money, but I saw their students being very frustrated and flustered And I felt they weren't contributing to the future of the dance community. It just felt more like a side hustle to them. Plus, whenever you rent out to these things, they trash the place. And who wants to dance on a sticky, natty pockmark floor from ladies, street stiletto shoes? So anyway, guys, I thought you'd find that to be somewhat entertaining. And I will see you first thing tomorrow morning with some more stuff, ballroom dance. And if you have any questions, hey, please comment or something else you'd like me to share from my experience. And also, I love to hear from people in other states and other parts of the world, because I am only one person, and I love hearing your stories too. They're just as interesting to me. Okay, friends, I'll see you first thing tomorrow. Happy dancing.